Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Tuan-tuan sekalian sini ada ini, memang kita ada session ini dalam bahasa Inggeris. Tapi kita boleh benarkanlah bahasa ABC, batu campur pun okey, no problem insyaAllah. As usual, afternoon session, normally we have these casualties. And good part that food was not oily food. Otherwise, we would have even these people be sleeping there. So what is important is not the quantity, but the quality of the audience that matters. So we begin, inshallah, our session. We are late, but we try our best to manage the time, inshallah, accordingly. Without further waste of time, we have this topic here, which is quite challenging and also interesting. Muslims faced with Islamophobia, propagation of Islam, and poverty. And when I look at my panelists, mashallah, I could say that each of them, they're really experts in their field of knowledge and experiences. So we have the speakers from Singapore, Indonesia, and of course our own national figures around here. On my right side extreme there is Mr. Imran Kuna. But he doesn't like that. He likes to be called Mohamad Imran Kuna. But the Imran who embraced Islam almost 13 years ago, since he has been part of the Darul Arqam, Singapore. He served as the Assistant Vice President of Dakwah and Vice President of the Convert Development Division between 2012 and 2016. Thereafter, Deputy President and eventually the President of the Darul Arqam between 2018 and 2022, which is just immediately end. And I was told in the morning that now the new person who is replacing him, he is also around here. He has been active volunteer and board member of the Masjid An-Naim, Singapore, and Majlis Ugama Islam of Singapore, MUIS. So if I go reading, it will take long time. Thank you for your presence, Brother Muhammad Imran, here for this session. And of course, on my extreme left is my own former colleague, Dr. Zaharuddin Abdul Rahman. When we were together in the same faculty of Kulliyah of Economics and Management Sciences, and he's known for being a Sharia expert. In addition to being an adjunct professor at UNICEF, Dr. Zaharuddin is a member of the Securities Commission of Malaysia, Sharia Advisory Council and Employees Provident Fund. He was awarded the World Halal Leadership by the brand laureate Toko Kembara, Takaful, MTA, and so many other things. He has founded a number of the technological software solutions actually, which is in the field that you will listen to him, inshallah. On my right side, we have, I think the first perhaps, and I am not sure, maybe the last speaker belonging to the sister side and the ladies, Dr. Ma'rufa, Hajah Ma'rufa Mustafa, Marfua. Sorry, spelling. From the morning I was talking Marfua, now there's a slip of tongue. Hajah Marfua Mustafa is socio-entrepreneur and Ketua Umum Pemimpin Pusat Wanita Islam, aktivis, dakwah dan fasilitator bimbingan perkawinan, pendidikan, calon pengantin, Masya Allah. Kalau ada calon-calon sini boleh contact, insyaAllah. She's a motivator, trainer, coach para pelajar, mahasiswa dan aktivis dakwah dan So I got 2 pages CV. I think I will finish all the time reading it. And finally, if I introduce on my left side, it will be actually insult to him. Everybody knows him, and if you don't know, it's not his problem, that's your problem. None other than Dato' Nazim Johan. Dato' Nazim Johan, Ketua Aktivis Persatuan Pengguna Islam Malaysia, that's Malay Consumers Association. And he is KL-based, born right from the beginning until now, and even graduated from UITM, diploma in what you call business. And also, good part, I saw it, Chartered Institute of Marketing, which is UK-based. And of course, finally, Masters in Business Administration, Eastern Michigan University. So the plan is that I will give this to our speakers, and then they will speak. Perhaps, maybe each of them can take 10 minutes. And afterwards, we could open the floor for the question and answer. If you think you have a difficulty teaching in the universities for last 30 over years, students usually Malaysian, they don't come forward to ask questions. So if you are welcome. Otherwise, you can send SMS to me, 012-282-7766. That's also I learned from Dr. Azharuddin. When he speaks, he usually gives the number. So you can send your SMS questions, and I will forward to him. Thank you very much. Actually, the topic, as I mentioned to you, we have 3 major subtopics, and that is basically Islamophobia, then propagation of Islam or Dakwah, in other words, and finally poverty. Who else can be more competent to speak about Islamophobia than the brother Mohamad Imran Kuna on the right side?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu sayyidina mursalin wa imamil muttaqin wa ala YBhg wassabil ajma'in. Honored guests, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, the Prof has given me 10 minutes. Inshallah, I try. Usually I'm very long-winded. I try to keep it short. The reason I'm standing and talking to you is because we had a very good lunch. And I don't want to sit down there and halfway, stop talking and you realize that I've already slept. So I'm struggling to keep myself awake, inshallah. Okay, Islamophobia. And Prof is very humble to say that I'm an expert in this matter. I have absolutely no idea about Islamophobia. Okay, but I have a lot of answers to phobia, is where I'm going to come to you. So if you are expecting me to fill you with very large jargon words, or very sophisticated words, it's not going to happen. And I don't intend to do it because it's already 2 plus 3. Kita dah makan banyak. Nanti kita dah proses. Whatever I talk, you will not be able to understand or say lah. So I'm going to keep it very simple. And I'm going to talk to you in a very layman so that you can understand, because we've got very senior members. We've got very young, enterprising adults, youth. So it's very important to understand what is this all about. Now, Islamophobia is not a new thing. It came up in the 90s. A lot of people will say, if you Google, they will say it's in 1997, 1992. Islamophobia was there from the day the Prophet received his first revelation, but it was not known as Islamophobia. The term we need to understand. If you want to find a solution for something that we are talking about, we need to go back to the root. What is phobia? And everyone knows phobia is about fear. In simple terms, it's fear. And when fear comes to you, it creates anxiety. Now, when these two meet each other, it's like some husband and wife. When each other, it causes disaster. What disaster it causes? It causes you confusion. It causes contradiction within your mind. It starts to make you to think of things in a very negative way. That's what fear, when combined with anxiety, does. So where is Islam? How come it suddenly become Islamophobia? Islam is Islam. It has never been phobia. It is phobia to those who are mixed with fear and anxiety, because you don't understand about it. So that's how I want to start this. Now, there are two types of phobia. And I'm not here to give you a lecture, I'm just coming to the point. One is what we call a specific phobia, and one is called a complex phobia. Specific phobia means you are having fear over something very specific, probably an animal. You see a dog from like 10 meters away, you start to run. You're scared that the dog is going to bite you. Actually, the dog finds you very friendly and wants to play with you, but your fear is, he's going to bite me. Or you have a particular situation, and that situation creates fear to you. That's a phobia. So these are what we call specific phobia. Maybe food. You don't eat seafood. You've got some kind of reaction, and people put the food on the table, you start to shake. So that's specific. The other one, which is complex, has to do a lot with your psychological mind, your mind. Even if that thing is true, it makes, because of your fear and anxiety, it makes you think that what you are seeing and doing or going through is actually bad for you. Bad vibes. So Islam has gone through such two phobias. A situational, a specific kind of phobia, which is, in my time when I was much more younger, before I embraced Islam, I've always seen Islam as a very exclusive religion. Don't go there. That's the kind of thing that was instilled in my mind. Don't even pass by that place. If there's a place of worship, it's a mosque, run away from it. That's the kind of instill they give you. So it creates the situation for me when I was not a Muslim. But when I become a Muslim, and when I look it from our perspective, we get angry. Why? Because this is not true. But the perception has been there. So phobia, when it's combined with something that we fear, with anxiety, it creates that kind of environment. That's what has happened to Islam. That's what has happened to Islam. Now the problem that is now being propagated and coming to a situation like it's an hostile ground is simply because how we as Muslims react to such fears and anxiety. You see, when there's two ways you can react. When you are going through the fear and anxiety, what do? You try to say things which will contradict, confuse, and you try to make it look very negative. But the people who receive this, like Muslims, when we receive such negativity to us, what do? Some of them, learned people, they keep quiet about it and say, let Allah handle this, we still continue. But we are normal human beings. How do we react? We get angry. We get angry and we start to retaliate. We go into the ground and say, no, what you are saying is not true. Not realizing they are not reacting because they want to react like that. They are reacting because fear and anxiety has come and is playing games with them. And that's how the perception. So when you put these two together, you will be able to find the root cause of all this. It's in your mind, your mindset. Now, was there any such situations way back in the Prophet time? There was. When the Prophet got his wahi, was he jumping in joy? He was terrified. He didn't understand what was it. Right? He ran away from that situation to hide in a blanket and not knowing what to do about it. What came to him? This same man was able to use all the metaphor that was given to him to spread the word of Islam today. Millions of us, almost 8 million Muslims? How is that possible? So Islamophobia is a thing that we need to overcome, and it starts back at home, from us. Now how does that equate to what is today's context? We are all trying to do Dakwah in different way. Different country, different situation, try to do Dakwah. Some are successful, some are not successful. Sometimes when we do Dakwah, it becomes a propagation. That means we are trying to tell things which is not true, which is not good, but we start to say. What do? We get angry, we go into the social media, we shoot each other. That's what we do. They are called the keyboard warriors. Some of them a bit more Brani, what they do, they go on stage and they say, oh, these people are like that, that people, group of people like that, we are good. How can you be good when your mode of reaction is to retaliate, to prove a point? How can it be? So today, what we are lacking, and rightfully, our Tan Sri Dr. Mahathir was saying, when you have a problem, when you are not sure, when you are encountering fear and anxiety, where do you go? You go back to the Quran, the Al-Quran. Why? Because that is our universal guide. That's what Allah tells us, right? When you have a problem, when he had the problem, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had his problem, when the Sahabas had their problems and challenges from the non-Muslim community, they went back to the Quran. So are we doing that? We are not. What we are doing is we find every angle and position to counter, to say that whatever you are saying is not true. So we indirectly create this element of Islamophobia around the world today. So you can argue and say, look, I've seen in the videos, look at this particular country, how they are being treated. Look at this particular place, how are they being terrorized, agonized. True. Who is fearing and in anxiety to do that? Are we the one? No. It's those who don't understand the real meaning of Islam, because of their fear and anxiety, tend to do the negativity which we are feeling the pain. But if we go and retaliate the same way, aren't we reacting simply because of the same fear and anxiety that Islam may fall, or this is bad for Islam, so you counter. So this is the fundamental thing that we have to understand. And why am I separating Islam and phobia is because Islam is Islam. Whether you are here today, whether I'm here today, whether we are not here today, it is still going to be there. It's going to be in existence. But the phobia part is where we human beings have to overcome. Our predecessors have overcome it. They have shown us the guideline. The best of it is Prophet himself, who has shown us to hold on to his sunnah, his actions, how he counted, how he went through, how he explained to the non-Muslims, how well he positioned himself. Ladies and gentlemen, there is one thing that we need to understand. Whether we are a Muslim, whether we are a non-Muslim, we are all humans. We make mistakes. We do encounter challenges. It does not mean only because we are Muslims, we got more challenges, because that's what we perceive. The non-Muslims are also having the same issues. It's just that they have not understood it yet. They don't have the Al-Quran in their mind, in their heart. It's not there. So they don't understand. Whereas we, some of us who are learned here, we have it. Some of us are still trying to learn to have it. So, in a nutshell, we need to position ourselves in such a way that we don't let what's happening around us affect us. Instead, we must focus on what is affecting us inside. This is a fundamental truth. No point you read thousands of books, how to be rich, but you don't go to work. Macam mana ni nak jadi kaya? One Malay song, kalau saya jadi kaya kan, kalau tak kerja, kalau tak cari rezeki, macam mana nak jadi kaya? That's the concept. So we need to know that we need to position ourselves. Whether you are a Malaysian, whether you are a Singapore Muslim, Muslims have to position ourselves well. And how do we do it? 3 ways. What creates fear and anxiety? Do we know? Lack of knowledge, a well-balanced mind, and a motivation heart that says that everything happens for a reason. I am not going to react the way I think I should. I should react the way I must react. When you have these 3 things well positioned, even if the hurricane were to hit you down, you will still continue moving. That's what, if you say, who has done it? Our Prophet, our beloved Prophet has done it. No one in this world, of Muslim world I'm talking about, would have gone through what he has gone through.
But the Kuna, maybe 1 more minute for you.
Oh, no problem. I was actually about to finish. No problem. So what I'm trying to say here is, when you straight your mind in terms of that phobia, even if the whole world says Islamophobia, let it be. You clear your mind, then you're able to do your da'wah work. If you are yourself, when you are doing and you are trying to convey the message of Islam And if you don't practice it, not outside, not practicing it within your heart, it is difficult to tell your mind that we are okay, it's just that we need to follow the straight path. If you are able to do that, then Islamophobia will exist to those who continue to live in fear and anxiety, but not to the Muslim who has overcome this and have a very well-balanced mind. With that, I end my short presentation. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Very good. Thank you, Brother Kuna. Actually, these two words, if you know, fear and faith, they are very close to each other, and both are concerned for the unknown. But what differentiates between the faith and fear, one is based on the love and affection. So unless and until we love the Creator and the creations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and makhluk, creations, we human beings, it will be difficult to practice the faith. Otherwise, it will remain something concerned for the fear which of unknown. With that, thank you. I think maybe we will wait for some questions coming afterwards. We have the second speaker, and this is actually Puan Marfu'a now. She is from Indonesia, I told you, and now she is going to take us to the big, huge population of the Ummah, and this is the ladies. How do you do da'wah? Because if you do da'wah only among the human, one part of it, male, Islam is only at the entrance. But if you make da'wah and the women target, then the Islam enters into the house, because the children, the family and everything. And women are known to be multi-skilling. And they are really the one, if they take the Islam and they move forward, the whole Ummah will move forward together, inshallah. So, Puan, now floor is yours, maybe for another 9 to 10 minutes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wa binasta'in wala umuri dunya waddin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Rabbi shrahli sadri wa yassirli amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Terima kasih pada kesempatan yang berbahagia ini. Satu kehormatan bagi kami dari pimpinan Pusat Wanita Islam diberi kesempatan untuk bisa hadir di tengah yang mulia ini. Ini jam-jam yang kritis ya. Habis makan, kenyang, duduk, pasti temannya sama dengan ngantuk ya. Mudah-mudahan pada sesi ini kita bisa berdiskusi terkait dengan Islamofobia, tapi saya akan lebih banyak mungkin nanti melihat dari sisi perempuan. Untuk menghindari Islamofobia ini, apa yang kira-kira harus kita lakukan? Ya, ini kalau menurut Imam Samsi Ali, itu putra Indonesia yang merantau di New York menjadi imam besar di sana. Beliau mengatakan ada 4 faktor kenapa Islamofobia ini ada. Ya, Islamofobia ini yang kita tahu bahwa kalau untuk di Eropa sendiri pertumbuhan Islam ini luar biasa. Jadi mereka pun tidak ingin Islam berkembang pesat. Yang kedua juga secara histori bahwa jika umat Islam berkembang maka mereka khawatir dijajah atau dikuasai, maka bagaimanapun punya sistem supaya Islam ini tidak berkembang. Yang ketiga, mungkin kita sendiri tidak memahami ajaran Islam ini secara benar ya. Mungkin kita memang sholat, kita Islam sejak kecil, tapi mungkin pemahaman Islam seperti apa yang dikehendaki Rasulullah tidak kita fahamkan dengan benar gitu. Maka harus senantiasa terus kita belajar bagaimana memaknai Islam secara harfiah dan hakikat. Yang keempat adalah ini kita juga harus memahami bahwa Islam ini rahmatan lil alamin. Apakah sudah kita lakukan, kita menjadi umat muslim yang rahmatan lil alamin. Tidak selalu curiga, tidak selalu khawatir ya terhadap saudara-saudara kita yang non muslim. Bahwa bagaimanapun sikap mereka, bahasa kita di Indonesia tirani mayoritas. Kita ini Islam di Indonesia mayoritas, tapi kita selalu dibully, selalu didiskriminasi, misalnya seperti itu. Jadi tidak ada tirani minoritas dan tidak ada tirani mayoritas. Mestinya kita hidup di Indonesia, hidup di Malaysia dan di belahan dunia manapun, kita sebagai orang muslim harus membawa diri kita sebagai pembawa rahmat semesta alam. Bahwa kita hadir di mana-mana sebagai umat yang dikehendaki kehadiran kita. Harus menyenangkan dari sikap kita, tutur kata kita, bicara kita harus mencerminkan seorang muslim. Karena Rasulullah diutus innama bu'istu liutammima makarimal akhlak. Maka seorang muslim yang insya Allah akhlaknya baik, maka akan bisa diterima di mana saja. Jadi Islam hadir bahwa perbedaan itu adalah rahmat. Tetapi kita tidak mempertentangkan perbedaan, tetapi kita harus mempersatukan perbedaan-perbedaan yang ada. Inilah tugas khalifah di muka bumi. Karena waktunya sedikit, kita akan langsung bahwa dalam wanita Islam sendiri bagaimana mencegah terjadinya Islamofobia ini. Maka yang harus kita lakukan harus tetap ada edukasi, literasi, dan advokasi. Karena semua harus berjalan secara harmonis dan bersinergis antara non muslim dan muslim di muka bumi ini harus bersama-sama. Kalau kita mencari perbedaan, keburukan, pasti semua agama, semua manusia punya keburukan dan perbedaan. Tetapi kita Rasulullah ajarkan jangan dari perbedaannya tapi dari persamaannya yang kita dekatkan gitu. Nah ini wanita Islam punya beberapa cara untuk menghindari, mengurangi Islamofobia ini. Kemudian juga yang tidak bisa kita lupakan, mungkin Islam sendiri merasa minder ya ketika berhadapan dengan kaum yang lain gitu ya. Karena kemiskinan, maka miskin ini kalau pada masa sahabat ya kita mengenal bagaimana Bilal ya, dia miskin tetapi imannya nomor 1 ya. Mestinya kita seperti itu. Tetapi zaman sekarang kemiskinan itu kata Sayyidina Ali mendekatkan kekufuran. Maka biasanya inilah menjadi alat non-muslim untuk mencari celah bagaimana memurtadkan orang. Ini di Indonesia terjadi. Bagaimana hari Jumat yang mestinya orang pergi sholat Jumat, orang-orang muslim ini dikumpulkan, dibagi kambing ya, kambing dan sejenisnya ini di hari Jumat. Kalau tidak datang tidak dikasih kambing. Sehingga umat kita ini tidak pergi ke sholat Jumat tapi datang ke pembagian kambing. Nah ini sangat mengenaskan. Maka dari wanita Islam punya program namanya Bunda Wakaf. Bunda Wakaf ini diharapkan bahwa organisasi punya dana abadi yang bisa dimanfaatkan untuk permodalan, pembinaan pelaku usaha, pemberdayaan ekonomi, untuk biaya pendidikan, menyantuni fakir miskin duafa ya. Ini dengan wakaf, karena wakaf itu sekali berwakaf selamanya tidak habis. Perbandingannya kalau kita jis ya, zakat infak sedekah, ini kan kalau misalnya dalam 1 tahun ada penduduk 300, kemudian kita punya uang 1 miliar misalnya. Ini kalau kita menyantuni setiap bulan Berapa ringgit kalau di sini biasa ya santunan itu?
Maybe Puan Marufah, you can conclude in 1 minute.
Iya. Nah ini akan habis. Tetapi ketika 1 miliar ini menjadi modal ya dalam wakaf, maka ini akan terus berkembang dan tidak habis modalnya. Jadi ini problem kemiskinan di Indonesia yang di keluarga besar wanita Islam kita sedang membangun pengembangan ekonomi berbasis wakaf. Jadi wakaf ini sebenarnya potensi besar umat Islam yang belum kita maksimalkan. Jadi kalau umat Islam punya dana wakaf besar, atau kalau zaman Rasul dulu ada Baitul Mal wa Tamwilnya, itu Baitul Tamwil ya, punya badan amil yang besar, punya badan mal yang besar, maka umat Islam akan berjaya. Umat Islam tidak bergeningnya transaksi yang sifatnya sementara, tetapi umat Islam harus dikuatkan dengan permodalan yang kuat, basis ekonomi yang kuat. Tentu saja ini tidak berbasis modal yang habis pakai, tetapi harus punya kekuatan ekonomi yang unlimited. Jadi wakaf ini menjadi dana abadi yang unlimited, tidak akan habis tetapi akan terus berkembang. Mungkin ini kami dari wanita Islam, karena kami punya anggota kurang lebih 1,5 juta seluruh Indonesia, yang ini juga kami harus bina. Sekolah-sekolah kami juga harus tetap berjaya dengan situasi negara, situasi politik global yang luar biasa. Jadi memang perempuan Indonesia harus kuat secara moral dan secara ekonomi. Secara moral dia harus membangun integritas moral, akhlakul karimah di keluarganya, dan secara ekonomi juga harus menjaga keluarganya untuk tetap menjadi keluarga yang beriman kepada Allah dalam kondisi yang bagaimanapun, susah maupun suka maupun duka, kaya ataupun miskin, iman adalah nomor 1. Inilah yang mudah-mudahan bisa kita terapkan, bekerja sama Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei dalam pengentasan kemiskinan di tengah Muslim khususnya. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for, alhamdulillah, very good. Actually, this is out of your points is raised just now, but many people, of course, it's very controversial statement. If you want to see Islam, you see in the West, but without faith. So their Islam, in terms of values, the freedom of expression, the respect for the fellow human, in terms of looking after the sustainability, environment, and all kind of other rights. But of course, this is all business akhlaq. Businessman, when he wants to sell goods, he respect you, he put it on his head, but once you have bought the goods, etc., then that's where the akhlaq finishes. So Islam actually is a beautiful religion, but we Muslims sometimes have a lot of problems to really put a good example of the Islam in terms of the Nilai Murni. Now we come to the issue poverty here, and I have no doubt about, we have the two experts here. When we talk about poverty, it is an economic issue. An economic based actually on the demand and supply side. So I would rather look forward to see this situation from our two beloved speakers on my left. Maybe Dato would be representing more for the consumer side, because that is a demand side, and maybe Dr. Zaharuddin, my friend, he might be talking from the producers and suppliers, producers who produce the goods and services for the mankind. And as we know him, he has been one of the major source of coming with a lot of innovation and products and services in Islamic finance, Islamic banking, and finally the Islamic social finance, which is a source of eradicating the poverty among the Ummah. So perhaps Dr. Zaruddin, would you like to talk on the Islamic social finance, how it tackles the poverty problems?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof, and honorable speakers and guests. Alhamdulillah, wa bihi nasta'in wa la udwana illa 'ala zalimin, amma ba'd. Actually, I'm preparing to talk about Islamophobia as well. Okay, not about poverty. But never mind, I will try at my best within the time that being allocated for each of us. Okay, first of all, when we talk about Islam and Islamophobia, and also we cannot avoid from talking about differences. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually put us on trial and test by way of making us at a very different in many ways. Religion, languages, tribes, and so on and so forth. But from my own research, from the classical scholars and contemporary scholars, what I can say is this. Number one, as an introduction, all of our knowledge with regard to Islamic matters should be coming and sourced from Al-Quran and Sunnah. Imam Sufyan Uyainah has warned us, Innal ahadith mudillatun illa lil fuqaha, meaning that the Sunnah of the Prophet will be source of sesat, astray, if it is not handled properly, except it is on the hand of scholars. Meaning that, I give you an example. The Prophet mentioned, Man ahya ardan mayyitah fahiyalah. Meaning, sesiapa yang menghidupkan the grave land or tanah yang kontang, the land will be yours. This is an authentic hadith. So can you imagine if you take and pick this one hadith and try to implement it, what will happen? You just go to Pahang, you just go to Sarawak or Sabah with your excavator or whatnot, so the land will be yours. So this is what we say, straight from the right path. It is not only applicable to hadith and its real and authentic understanding, but also to understand the Quran. When we talk about Islamophobia, how you want to harmonize between the two ends of these evidences. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that characteristic of Muslim is ashidda'u 'alal kuffar ruhama'u bainahum. Strong, very strong, and what? Quote unquote harsh against the non-believers, and put a lot of mercy towards the Muslim community. And then at the same time, Allah also mentioned in other verse, وَاقْتُلُوهُمْ حَيْثُ ثَقِفْتُمُوهُمْ. Allah mentioned, kill those who are non-believers if you find them. Kill them. So how do you understand all of this ayah without learning the true context of the Quran? And at the same time, Allah also mentioned, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal mau'izatil hasanah, wajadilhum billati hi ahsan." And also at the same time, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, "La ayyahdi bika rajulan wahida khairul laka min humurin na'am." If you manage to convince a non-believer to become a believer, you will be rewarded handsomely. And how do you want to harmonize between the two ends? So, many scholars has their own interpretation in the Quran and also, in the tafsir, and also between those mufakkir, or Islamic scholars, even professors and researchers. What we can say is this: all of those ayah regarding harsh, harsh word that is mentioned in the Quran is actually meant for war only, and it is not meant to be used where we are in a great and harmony times. So that is very important, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself creates the differences. Allah mentioned, وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ لَجَعَلَ النَّاسَ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُمْ. If you can understand this hadith and contemplate the meaning of the hadith, Allah Himself says that He intentionally create the differences and as a trial and as a test for all of us. So who manage to manage the differences in a very harmony ways, those are actually who succeed. If Muslim commingle with the non-Muslim with the full of hatred, because they say in the Quran, ask you to put a hate of those non-believers. Baghdha, in the Quran mentioned. But again, we have to understand the context of the verse. So this is number one. What I mean is that as a Muslim, we have to contemplate that the differences will be there, always will be there, and we are being made as our obligation to manage it rightfully and in a very harmony way. Okay, now we go to the, because that is one of the source of hatred and Islamophobia actually. One coming from us, the other one coming from the West, and those who are crossing the line. Actually, those who are crossing the line are nothing to do with religion. That is an individual problem. But the problem with Muslim who are an extremist, when they did some extremist action, they mention and they shout the words of religion, Allahu Akbar. So for that reason, the West understood that this is a religion-motivated action, which is not. That is coming out of ignorance from those group of people. And every religion will have those extremists. And every party, even political party, and every NGOs may have some loose cannon, they say. Loose cannon. And they are not representing the whole idea or the whole organization. All right, so come back to the economy. So in Islam always encourage us to grow each and every year by way of looking at the rate of zakah. 2.5% is actually a test and at the same time a motivation for Muslim community and businessmen and businesswomen as their personal benchmark. Each and every year you must surpass rate of growth of 2.5% because that 2.5% is actually the zakah rate. The zakat rate. So again, one of us mentioned about waqaf. Now, yes, everybody agreed that waqaf should be one of the best instruments to help the Muslim community. However, it's very unfortunate to see the fact that most of the waqaf assets even here in Malaysia are not being well managed. And we can see and we can find the fact that thousands of hectares of land that being waqaf not being utilized and cannot be utilized by Nazir Waqaf because of poor management. So how would we actually help the Muslim community if we tend to be very weak in management and administration? In the hadith mentioned, Al-mu'minul qawi khairun min al-mu'minul da'if. Allah mentioned, Inna khaira man istajarta al-qawiyul amin.
Inna khaira man istajarta, those who will be great to be hired as a servant is those who is very strong. Strong in what? You refer to the Quran, Mufassirin, they will say that strong is actually the skills of administration and good governance, integrity. That are those qualities that need to be embedded onto Muslim community. If we are to coming out from poverty, but at the same time, we are always asking for subsidies, asking for help from this party, that party, those government and this and that, we should compare ourselves with those non-Muslim. Maybe not because of our race, but it is because of our complacency in our own country. I finished my PhD in the UK, and I finished my master's in Jordan. I finished my degree in Malaysia. So I got 3 exposures to 3 different type of countries. I can see that Muslim in the UK, most of them can be, say, a successful entrepreneur. You know, they have their own supermarket. They can even build their own mosque, yeah, to fulfill their own madhab. Okay, but here we are in Malaysia. We are not so motivated because of maybe complacency, and then we try to become champion by way of voice out our complaint, voice out our this and that. But in reality, we are actually depending on the non-Muslim in terms of economy. You go to Jakim and ask the consumers of what? Producer of halal food, almost 70% belong to the non-Muslim. Yes, we complain, but what about ourselves? Do you produce anything other than voice it out on the Facebook? For that reason, I left the university and I tried to become entrepreneur myself. Now I have my own slaughtering house. I have my own technological software. I have my own solar system engineering team. I try myself to create the jobs, employment, and at the same time, contribute to the GDP. But it's not easy at all, because you say again, you will say that there is cartel here, cartel there. You know, the cartel will be the cartel only when they have the quality and they know how. If you don't know how to do it, you cannot be the cartel. In order for you to become one of the cartel, you have to be strong, and you have to do your homework. You see, I have friends that have what we call this reban ayam, ternak ayam. So I ask them, from where you get the feed meal? They say we get from this company. I ask them, why don't you take the feed meal from the feed from the duck, from the Muslim companies or Nafas or whatnot? They replied by saying that the chicken doesn't want to eat the duck from the Muslim company. You know why? Because we don't have the technology. We don't have a good R&D. So we have to question ourselves before we question somebody else. Yes, that's it. I think that I have time for the sharing. Inshallah, we'll share in the next session.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Zaruddin. It's actually, this is why it reminds me again, when we see Tunjo Jari again, but we forget that 3 are indicating to us. As if like problem perhaps outside us is 1%, whereas the 3 indicating to us that 75% are coming from us. So thank you very much, Dr. Zaruddin. I expected it from you. And now we have finally Dato. Maybe Dato would like to share problems that we are facing in the consumers and especially marketing side, and especially in Malaysian context, B40, Bawa Ampopulo itu. So maybe listen to Dato and then we would open the session.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Persatuan Pengguna Islam was formed about 26 years ago. It was formed because we saw there were problems, many problems that our Muslim society had to face. There were problems of halal, non-halal, and many issues. So when we formed the association, we had many complaints and like what the doctor was saying. Of course, most of these problems come from our own community because we are weak. Bila kita lemah, kita akan menjemput penjajahan ataupun naklukkan ataupun penghinaan yang kadang-kadang memang padan dengan muka kita. Tan Sri fahamlah, kita dah biasa bercerita pasal masalah masyarakat kita ini. Dan kalau kita tengok Prof Ridwan pula, dia macam-macam kita terdedah ya. Jadi sebenarnya bila kita tubuhkan persatuan itu, kita antaranya kita dapati there were so many foods that were supplied. Sometimes pakai halal logo yang tipu, yang sometimes yang tak ada logo, yang kadang-kadangnya kita pun tak mencari sangat. We saw one of the main problem was the realization within. The realization within our own Muslim are almost not there. We can say we want this, we want that, we want this, but in actual situation, we are very weak in even our objective. We were not clear actually. For example, the Muslim society ni dia banyak masalah. Masalah dia, contohnya dia buat air mineral. Orang pun tak beli. Pasal kita pun tak beli. Contohnya, bukan saya nak menyalahkan penganjur lah. Kalau semua masjid ambil air mineral yang dibuat oleh orang Islam, we have more than enough market. But we don't. Pasal ada dulu, Dewan Perniagaan sendiri buat jemputan untuk annual dinner. The invitation was at Palace of Golden Horses with 9-course Chinese food. Whereas Chinese punya function 7 course saja. So we are more. Lepas tu dia kena pakai black tie. Saja saya tanya penganjur because they were friends, nak cari mana black tie ni. Pasal kita pun tak pakai benda macam ni. You pergi dekat kedai bridal tu, you boleh sewa. We want to go to a function that's supposed to create realization, but we don't do what we are supposed to do. We are more I don't know, sometimes mengada-ngada pun lebih, nak bergaya pun ada. Jadi at the end of the day we fail because katakan kerajaan sekarang ni masuk lagi 100 bilion lah dalam keadaan hari ini, I don't think it's going to bring us far because the habit is there, the culture is there to keep on buying. Because ada kita ni, we train ourselves. I have friends, successful friends, every week pergi dinner, pergi lunch or dinner dengan family di hotel 6 star, 5 star, belanja 7-8 ribu, duduk 5-6 orang. I mean, they have the money, they can do it. But as we can see, the training is wrong. We don't train ourselves. Of course, we don't train ourselves. Yang bawa anak-anak contoh tadi, pergi ke restoran Italian and whatever, that is the training that we train our family. So when they become leaders, they do the same thing. They do the same thing. They also will not patronize business that are supposed to be supported. Just imagine kalau kita punya brother buat restoran pun, kita nak cari restoran yang lebih sedap, yang lebih ada kelas because we have the money. So what we see is that realization. Because of the failure to realize, our business people, when they do business, they face a lot of problem. Their own problem, and of course the problem of those people in that society. We are far from Chinese lah. I happen to sekolah Cina, so I'm very familiar. Contohnya sekolah Cina ni ya, dengan Prof Ridwan mungkin tak payah cerita kan. Tapi mungkin dengan Cikgu Azmi ke kita nak share. I masuk darjah 1 sekolah. My Chinese friends ni, they are all fully aware of their agenda. Budak-budak kecil ni, yang 7 tahun, 8 tahun ni, semua bercerita pasal kerjaan salah, kerjaan tak betul, kerjaan tak patut. These are the things that they do. And then lepas tu dia pergi ke darjah darjah 6, lepas tu pergi ke UEC. Pergi ke UEC, apa yang dia nak, dia belajar tak ada lagi, sejarah pun tak ada itu lagi tu, dia pergi UEC. Lepas tu dia masuk Form 1, lepas tu tak lama bagi dia mengundi. Bagi dia mengundi, umur 18 tahun dia mengundi Kalau kebanyakan orang kita 18 tahun ni sibuk TikTok lagi ni. Dia orang ni dah tahu, they have a formed mind of where to go, what to do. So they deserve what they get. And we also deserve what we get. When we are weak, kita akan dihina. Dan memang padan muka kita dihina pun because kita tak buat apa-apa. Apa yang kita buat untuk menolong orang bisnes kita sendiri? Because I'm in business also, I know. Ya Allah, nak minta tolong ni bukan satu benda yang mudah. We don't train ourselves, we don't train our family. We train our family with a dinner or lunch or whatever. That's why when they grow, they are in business, they become leaders, they are also like that in their practices. Jadi we cannot blame them because kita dalam family pun berapa banyak. Contohnya antaranya lah, because my point is simple, kita tidak ajar. Kita tidak didik masyarakat kita untuk jadi hebat. Makan pun tak habis, makan ambil banyak, makan tak habis, nasi buang. Benda paling mudah. Berdosa jangan cerita lah, tapi kita pun tak nampak dosa, so it's okay. Jadi cuba bayangkan, ambil banyak, makan tak habis. Kalau bulan puasa ni, kita tengok it's just round the corner. Kita tengok bulan raya pun just round the corner. Kalau kita banding masyarakat Cina ni, saya tak tahulah Prof. Hakka ni, dia sebiji nasi pun dia tak buang. Jepun pun macam tu. Kalau ikut ajaran dia, kita tak ada benda, pergilah tengok ambil nasi satu mangkuk tambah tu. Lepas tu buang juga. Jadi kita tidak mendidik masyarakat kita. Jadi bila orang-orang ni, keluarga ini, dia bekerja di luar, itulah budaya dia. Budaya dia pembaziran, buat projek bazir, macam-macam bazir. Ini reality, jangan nak tipu lah, because we have been around. Contohnya Along saja, over the past many years, we have handled more than 50,000 Along cases. Macam mana kita boleh solve Along punya cases, sedangkan benda ni has been around for a long time. But if we were in our family, training our family, the weakness, so what they get, what they train, to become weak. Tak payahlah, ini orang lain lah, dengan network lah, dengan kartel lah apa benda. So at the end of the day, we don't need to do anything. So, what I'm trying to share here is this. Yang kita buat itu, persatuan ini untuk menentukan orang Islam dapat makanan yang halal. Ini kita ni contohnya Yong Taufu tu, yang di Ampang. Kita pergi dengan Jakim dulu pergi tengok. Yang pergi makan tu adalah pakai piah ada, pakai tudung ada. Jadi kita tanyalah yang bekal makanan tu, ada si halal ke? Tak ada. Halal ke? Dia pun tak tahu. Jadi yang kita ni ramai nak pergi, orang tu pun tak cakap dia halal, yang kita kebuluran sangat nak pergi makan kat situ. Kenapa? Apa yang kita ajar masyarakat kita? Patut kita dengan raja sokong bisnes yang orang Islam pasal dia bayar zakat. Dan kita mencari yang halal. Kalau dia jual tak halal, kurang-kurang dia dapat dosa. Kalau kita beli kat orang bukan Islam, apa kita dapat? Tak tahu, kita boleh negotiate bagi pahala pada dia ke, ambil pahala dia ke, saya tak tahulah tu. Jadi this is the reality out there, and we have got to do something. Tapi sekejap, 2 minit. To put us together, kalau boleh lah, kita, what is our platform? Saya nak tanya hari ini, untuk all of us, apa platform kita? Have we a platform? All Muslim, sokonglah air mineral yang dibuat oleh orang Islam. Contohnya, tak ada. Yang kat Petronas tu yang 500 juta tu, saya beritahu dah 30 tahun. Air mineral pun nak ambil yang orang bukan Islam. Kenapa? Saya nak tanya. Kalau kapal terbang tu okey lah. Air mineral seksa sangat ke kita ni? Jadi yang saya nak share ni macam ni. Kita ada create satu platform baru ini. Platformnya adalah yakin. Kita ada satu apps untuk kita dapat maklumat, kita nak tanya, kita nak adu. So kalau boleh tuan-tuan dan perempuan boleh tengok dalam Play Store, download Yakin apps. Dia maknanya waktu semayang ada yang biasalah yang dimiliki oleh orang Islam. So there is a platform yang kita kalau ada masalah pun kita boleh, supaya kita ada platform. Kita ada kerjasama. Kurang-kurang tak banyak pun 1 daripada 10. Ini langsung tak tahu ke mana. Jadi let's do something together. We got to get back together, and if we get ourselves together, at least we will have the respect of the non-Muslim. I'm from the Chinese school, Chinese education. So I know Cina pun dia bagus kalau orang yang tak tahu menghormati diri dia. Jadi kalau kita tak tahu menghormati diri kita, maka tak ada apa-apa dia pun tak hormat kat kita. Jangan tipu diri kita. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Dato'. Alhamdulillah. So, if I can see that Dr. Zaharuddin, he said, forget about the human, even ayam pun tak nak makan yang perbuatan orang Islam ini. Sorry to pick up. And also now, same thing comes from Dato'. We actually need to improve ourselves in terms of weaknesses that we have. That's why those students from management, they know very well there is something called SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So if we have a lot of weaknesses, eventually those people who got strength, they will take advantage. So how can we strengthen? Maybe it will be a topic for discussion for the next session when we have the resolutions to be passed. We minimize our weaknesses. Then eventually our strength will be more to face the challenges that we are now talking today: Islamophobia, Dakwah, and poverty. All these are the challenges that Ummah is facing today. Now, I can see we have the panel speakers from the Muslim majority countries, for example, Indonesia, Malaysia, and we also have a speaker from the Muslim minorities, for example, from Singapore. And what worries me after listening all the speakers, that everybody see the better world on the other side of the fence. So the issue here is that we have to deal with the people, and we are facing all those kind of problems where Muslims are in minority. So there are extremists, not necessarily they are Muslims. They will end up ventilating their anger through burning the Quran, through hatred against the Muslims, and tanpa ibadat orang Islam. Basically, they are showing their frustration because they are not happy with the way of the Muslims, or they don't like it, they got prejudices. But what to talk about our internal weaknesses, that we are really not addressing to it, rather trying to find the scapegoat to blame the others. So here there are issues that we need to look into it. Perhaps time is not there for second round. I open the floor for the questions that you may like. Either you can address to Brother Mohamad, Imran, Kuna, maybe Hajah Marfu'ah, Dato', Dr. Azharuddin, or you can just put the question to any of these speakers may pick up to answer that questions. So please feel free. I would love to see questions coming from both the side, brother side as well as sister side. Please go ahead. Usually in Malaysia teaching the students, I know, starting is the problem. Once somebody starts the ball rolling, then eventually towards the end of the time, 1, 2, 3, then you have no time to answer that. So please quickly go ahead. Thank you. Just tell your name, from where, and if you have any specific question to any panel, please. Yes.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm Izwan from KLMUC. Okay, I have a question. Sometimes we as a Muslim, we like to find the halal food, right? But my question is, why sometimes we doubt about is it halal or not? Sometimes we see the product, we see, it's halal or not? Like, we confuse. Sometimes we avoid to take harmful foods, right? So your opinion about this issue? Doubts, like.
Okay, I think this question more goes to the Dato because, but after all, in Malaysia we have the certification. I don't see any issue. Anyway, any other question?
Sorry?
Is there some more question, or that's the only question?
Or that's the only question. Thank you.
We had brought up cases of halal certification that are made by non-Muslim companies. Some are okay, but some are not okay. Some had the halal certification, but now no more. For example, there's famous cake house. At one time, it had halal certification, but now no more. We had also burger. We had similar names also. Pau yang memang namanya Islam, tapi pun bukan Islam. Tapi I think there are two things when we look into this kind of issues. One is orang Melayu sendiri pun kadang-kadang tak faham juga pasal halal ni. Ini bukan cerita main-main, dia kata semua halal. Saya didatangi oleh orang daripada Korea dulu. Dia kata dia ada persatuan Islam sana, dia nak isu CJ halal je. Isu CJ halal dia, pada dia isu CJ itu tak dapat isu CJ saja. Jadi the understanding isn't there. Jadi we have got to be doubtful at times. Macam saya cerita tadi, persatuan ini ditubuhkan untuk menentukan kita dapat bekalan makanan yang halal, kerana yang halal itu jadi darah daging yang menjadikan hati kita. Yang itu yang paling penting. Kalau hati baik, lain semua baik. Jadi itu yang kita nak kejar. Jadi kita juga, of course, yang biasanya kalau orang Islam tu patutnya faham. Tapi saya nak share juga, ada ni kenal orang ni, dia di pesta bola dulu, dia orang jual air sirap, gula, macam-macam lah. Jadi terlalu ramai orang, jadi sirap tu dengan air dah tak ada. Tengok air semua dekat, ambil air pun air daripada toilet. Tapi toilet pun dah tak ada air. Ini betul-betul cerita ni. Jadi toilet tak ada air, apa dia orang buat? Budak-budak ni pasal duit, dia pergi ambil air dekat apa ni, air pancut tu. You fikir, Tan Sri cuba bayangkan ke Tan Sri terminum air macam tu. Boleh sakit perut Tan Sri. Pasal yalah, kalau kita ni muda-muda lagi, Tan Sri tua sikit. Sikit. Jadi benda ni kita kena be careful. Kita bila kita tengok makanan tu pun macam yang saya cakap di Yong Taufu tu, tak ada siapa kata halal pun. Jadi kurang-kurang kita nak dapat berkat. Kalau yang kita makan kat orang Islam, kurang-kurangnya kalau dia buat tak halal, dia tanggung. Kalau yang macam aja kita tadi, kalau yang bukan Islam, tak, mana kita nak minta recourse-nya tidak ada.
Okay, terima kasih Dato. I think maybe we would also see from the Sharia experts, Dr. And after this, maybe I will pass the issue also to Brother Imran Kuna, because I went to Singapore and they say the Singapore, the drinking water, they process it from the one, whether it is good to drink or not. That may be also for you to, yes.
Okay, firstly, I would like to say that congratulations, because the moment that you have doubt whether or not this is halal or haram, that is actually the sign of Iman. So congratulations. But unfortunately, some Muslim, they are only concerned when they are seeking halal food. When it comes to food and beverages, they are very sensitive. However, halal is not only limited to halal food and beverages. There are many sectors that require halal services, for example, financial services, and many others. So yes, Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith, "Kullu lahmin nabata min suht, fannaru awlabi." Meaning that the flesh that being developed by the impure income
and impure things will result to will lead to hellfire. All right. So for that reason, we must pay a lot of attention to the food and how to do it. For all Muslim, when you go to any restaurant, it is an obligation for us, if you cannot see the halal jakim sign, for us to ask question to several of the staff. If the Muslim staff at that particular place say that it is halal, it's confirmed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, Fas'alu ahla dhikri in kuntum la ta'lamun. You must refer to those who knows when you don't know. So when you already ask those who work in that workplace, that restaurant, and he or she reply by saying it is halal, so your and our responsibility before Allah has been completed. So if those staff is cheating, we will not bear any sins and our food will be neutral. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Taruddin. Actually, I do also have many kind of such situations. So then problem arises, as you rightly said, as far as food is concerned, we always ask the question about whether it's halal or haram. Friends of mine who are not Muslim, they say some of our fellow Muslims, they cross the border, go to the other side, and they do all the masiyat, but when it comes to makan, they say, full halal gata. So we have to be really, really sometimes careful about, really halal means not only for the food, halal life. Everything is included, social, cultural, masharat, akhlaqiyat, and everything together. And I think I just raised the issue for Singapore water and many of them. So what is the, would you like to, just quickly, don't take long time. Maybe, sisters, I reserve one question for you. Maybe for Hajah Marufa to respond to you.
Basically, when you talk about water, it's a bit subjective, right? I mean, this is a known fact. But just want to quickly come to the point that the brother just now brought up. It's not a question of halal or haram. I think the question that when you are unsure at a situation as such, and like what rightfully the Ustad said, it's a matter of iman. The other thing is also awareness, and to be aware of who we are and where we are will determine our decision. That's a critical factor that we have to take into mind. So rightfully, yes, everything under the sun, as long as a Muslim, you need to know, you need to be aware of what you are doing and where you are. At the same time, the knowledge that you have attained, when the decision making comes into play, sometimes you need to revert back to the basics. And the basics is the fundamental of what Islam has taught us. If you are really, really unsure and you feel that you want to know, then you have to figure out and find it. If you think you are not sure, then you should refrain from it. That's
Thank
how
you.
I look at it.
I think, we shubahat and things, we better take care of it and we should not. And of course, this is an inner feeling and also taqwa that we have to be careful and waswas that what we eat, whatever other things, consumables we call it, it has to be really from halal means, and there's a lot more details.
I just interrupt for 1 minute, Ustad. You see, the reason why I'm saying this is many vendors or many shops that you go to, when you ask them, is it halal? They say, yes, my supplier has supplied halal food. These ingredients are halal, agreed? But the person who is serving the food, the person who's processing the food may not be a Muslim. So now you are stuck. The food, the ingredient used is halal, but the person now who is serving you is not halal. How do you make a decision then?
Okay.
You know, so that's why I'm saying you need to be very clear. If you're not clear, then better refrain. That's my personal view.
Sisters, do you have any questions in the meantime? Yes, please. You want to put your question to any particular panelist, any general question? Can technical people help her? Because looks like microphone not working. I think we can listen you if you speak a bit louder.
Hello. There you go.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rashida Begum. I'm from Wanita PPIM bahagian. I would like to ask, I've noticed there are some restaurants, they put a signboard saying that no pork served here. So it goes under what category, that restaurant? Whereas 90% of people eating there is Muslims. Thank you, that's my question.
Thank you, very straightforward. Who wants to answer it?
No, I think, sister, if you just go back to the answer that I said, yeah, there are shops that say no pork, no lard. Okay, no pork, no lard. But the question is, and they will tell you that the ingredients are like halal. I'm just telling you again. It's a matter of faith and it's a matter of understanding, you know. And if you have, like what he said, if you have this kind of doubt, it's good to know that the doubt and the sin is not upon you. And you see a lot of Muslims are eating there. That doesn't qualify that you got to do it.
Okay.
You know, I think that's my answer.
Actually, this is where the awareness, the ignorance sometimes itself is the problem. So we being a Muslim, it is our responsibility. We have to learn and increase our knowledge and ilmu. Otherwise, we will be facing all these kind of problems. And also, sometimes there are issues as well, because if we are not aware of the different opinions, etc. I do remember class going on in IIUM, and that time the issue was cigarette smoking. Is it halal? Is it prohibited? Haram. So one student, one Nagri, say for example, in Nagri Simlan, the person is driving and he burned the cigarette, and there the fatwa is a makruh, and he enters into Malacca, and that time already the hukum is haram. So the student asked, hey, you have confused even the malaikat. What they will write is write halal act, they will write the makruh act, because the person, so territorial issues also, but we being a Muslim, we have to increase our knowledge to make our own judgment so that we are safe and we are accountable to Allah. Nobody is watching us except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the part of the Iman. So Iman controls our actions and our amal. So I think now we started and we actually given the opportunity to be late, and our session may continue if unless there is any burning question, someone can raise the hands. Otherwise, I think no panelist speakers. Yeah, sister, brother, sorry, can't see. Go ahead.
Assalamualaikum. No, I'm not transgender, I'm a woman. My name is Puan Aisha Sidhu. I'm a Punjabi Mu'alaf. I have questions. First of all, to Puan, di Indonesia ya, pejuang wanita ataupun wanita-wanita yang beragama Islam, apakah cabaran yang paling hebat yang telah mereka hadapi dalam berdakwah ataupun dalam menyebarkan agama Islam kepada wanita bukan Islam di Indonesia? Okay, question number 2 is to Datuk. Datuk, my suggestion to you is you and your team to do a observation on most of the vegetarian shops in KL. I believe they are Buddhist shops, and in Buddhism, most of the followers, they don't eat pork, and they open up vegetarian shops, which is actually banyak berkhasiat lah. Jadi mohon Datuk dengan tim Datuk buat pemantauan, bukan serbuan tapi pemantauan.
Thank you, sister. We got your question and opinion. Let Puan answer first question, and then Datuk will respond to you the second question. Thank you very much. And this is the last question.
Alhamdulillah, kalau di Indonesia untuk masalah dakwah itu tidak terlalu berat ya. Alhamdulillah bisa diterima karena memang kita mengedepankan adab ya, bahwa kita persamaan kita apa gitu. Kalau misalnya memang mereka minority, kemudian miskin, maka kita dakwah bilhal. Kita santuni mereka, kita bawa sembako, bahasa di Indonesia itu sembako itu ada beras, ada minyak, ada gula gitu. Nah, apa yang mereka butuhkan itu kita sampaikan ke mereka, baru kita berdakwah. Jadi ini lebih efektif. Kemudian saya kebetulan di Kementerian Agama juga bagian halal, Datuk. di Badan Penyelenggara Jaminan Produk Halal. Di Indonesia itu 2024 makanan dan minuman yang beredar wajib halal. Jadi dengan adanya peraturan itu sedikit demi sedikit masyarakat memang harus tahu tentang halal itu gitu. Jadi memang halal itu mandatori bukan voluntary. Jadi bukan suka-suka tapi wajib halal di Indonesia untuk 2024 itu dimulai dari makanan dan minuman. Nah ini juga sejalan dengan dakwah kita gitu. Maka untuk masalah yang paling berat ya, untuk minority itu di daerah Bali misalnya, anak-anak sekolah SMA tidak boleh pakai jilbab, itu pernah. Tetapi kita pendekatannya kepada regulator yang membuat undang-undang. Jadi di sana kita temui Dewan Perwakilan, anggota legislatif parlemennya, kita bicara bahwa untuk kami yang muslim, memakai jilbab itu adalah satu keharusan, bukan bukan kultur, bukan adat istiadat Arab, tapi itu dalam Islam, dalam Al-Quran disebutkan memang harus pakai. Maka setelah kita jelaskan, mereka juga mau mengerti gitu. Maka kembali anak-anak pelajar kita yang putri, siswi-siswinya bisa memakai jilbab lagi. Jadi insya Allah di Indonesia untuk dakwah tidak terlalu masalah. Insya Allah bisa berjalan pelan-pelan, kita sesuai dengan kondisi masyarakat yang kita dakwahi. Terima kasih.
Okay, now I think the last question just now and refer to Dato. Maybe Dato would like to briefly answer it. Then we will call it the session to the end.
Okay, pasal melawat restoran-restoran ni, buat kita tidak besar, kita kecil saja persatuan kita. Jadi kita harapkan semua boleh buat bersama. Pasal ini tanggungjawab bersama, kita tak mampu. Jadi kita harap puan boleh dan puan juga boleh kita jemput datang ke tempat kita. Tapi itu yang kita kata tadi, apps pun boleh guna untuk mengadu. Jadi boleh download, adu, kita terima dan kita boleh pergilah. Dan satu lagi tadi, apa kali yang nombor 2 soalan
about Buddhist, I think shows.
Dia sebenarnya memang banyak. Pasal kita pun lemah juga. Ada satu Chinese friend daripada China, dia nak buat kilang babi, nak buat tin babi, tapi dia kata dia babi dia sembelih je kata dia. Jadi masalahnya persepsi. Kita juga bersalah. Pasal kita tak cerita. Kita ni sebenarnya mungkin ini antara yang terbaik kita tengok ya. Antara perjuangan saya rasa Rasulullah yang banyak adalah dakwah. Dan kita masyarakat Melayu saya rasa amat kurang berdakwah. Kita kadang-kadang bergantung kepada kawan-kawan kita ya, yang dulu bukan Islam ke ataupun yang bukan yang orang Melayu ni dia kurang sikit. Dia bahagian tu dia kadang-kadang kalau kita tengok dari berapa orang sejak kita lahir, berapa orang yang kita masukkan Islam atau ya masuk Islam tu ya Allah yang itu, tapi maknanya usaha kita. Jadi saya rasa ini kena kita jadikan itu antara matlamat kita hari ini. Kita balik kita bawa satu benda lah. Kita bawa kita nak dakwah. Tan Sri Yusof Noor orang yang cukup bagus yang kita minta dia bantu juga on the ground supaya kita boleh equipkan ourselves dalam sesi-sesi berdakwah ini secara bijak lah. Pasal kita pun tak ada ilmu benda. Yang lain tu adalah saya lah. Jadi kita kena minta bantuan pergi ke PPIM, pergi jadikan ini antara agenda utama. Kalau kita dapat satu orang Islam dapat dakwahkan satu orang, dah banyak juta ni.
Sekarang 2 juta jadi 4 juta lah.
Ya. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Dato. Okay, so we come towards the end of the session. Let us give a big round of applause to our first speaker, Brother Mohamad Imran Kuna from Singapore. Then we have the second speaker, Hajah Marfu'ah Mustafa from Indonesia. And we have our Ustad Dr. Zahruddin Abdul Rahman as the third speaker. Round of applause. And finally to our Dato. And let us conclude our session. Any shortcomings, things, we seek your forgiveness and forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let us close this session with the Suratul Kafara. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.